What's up, everybody? Welcome to an episode of my R&B review. Before I start, I want to say a rest in peace to Mr. Bushwick Bill, who is one third of the iconic and legendary hip hop group The Ghetto Boys, which consists of members of himself, Scarface, and Willie D. Bushwick Bill, in my opinion, he was the heart of that group. In my opinion, he originally started out as a dancer for the group, and then next thing you know, when the Getter Boys kind of like reformed and shit like that, he got more attention after the Making Trouble album in '88. And so, that being said, the Getter Boys, they dropped classic albums like Gripping on the Other Level, which I need to get my hands on, but that's fucking expensive. And with fucking Bushwick Bill Bushwick Bill dying, imagine how much that shit would be and stuff. So then I have the We Can't Be Stopped album in '91, which definitely is like one of their like best and much lauded albums. Then wait, I'm sorry, I forgot. I forgot the self-titled remix album in 1990 and shit of The Grip It on the Other Level, which Rick Rubin had kind of like produce a remix and stuff like that. Which that one I need to definitely get my hands on. But if anything, if I get the Ghetto Boys remix self-titled remix album, then if I get Grip It, I'll get Grip It because that album goes for stupid amount of money. Whereas that self-titled Ghetto Boy is kind of reasonable in price now these days. The most I've seen it recently was probably like 23. Then there's the We Can't Be Stopped album, which I'm gonna talk more about that in a minute. Very dope album and stuff. Then follow with Till Death Do Us Part in '93, where Willie D had left, and then Big Mike came in the group. Which that album right there is I also that's a classic album as well, like a very dope album. And then Resurrection, and so on and so on. All right, so 1991, and a lot of people kind of know that he kind of goes through depression a lot. So he was arguing with his girlfriend, and he had wanted his girl to kill him, basically. And so he got the gun, and the girl was going to kill him. And so he said he's going to kill himself. So while they were fighting over the gun, the gun went off and it hit his fucking eye, and so he lost his eye. And so that being said, give me 1 second. Like I know, just in case, like what y'all know what I'm talking about. Like this album cover right here, they were actually at the fucking hospital, and they did this fucking album cover, and it was fucking Jay Prince's idea, according to Bushwick Bill in the Unsung. Jay Prince said it was his idea and whatnot. So that shit's fucking crazy, man. So fast forward to '92, he had like dropped his first solo album, Little Big Man, in '92. I admit the only solo album I've heard from Bushwick Bill was the Phantom of the Rapture album in '95, which I fucking love that album. I need to actually listen to that album too. But yeah, man. And it's kind of crazy too because it was announced that they were originally going to go on tour and shit like that. They were going to go on tour. And oh, also recipes to DJ Ready Red. He was in the one of the DJs too that was with them from '88 to '92. And so it was said that they were going to go on one last tour after it's been announced that he had pancreatic cancer. But then a couple days later, they canceled that shit, and he had died. Like I want to say yesterday he died. So yeah, man, Bushwick Bill definitely a hip hop legend in my opinion. One of the most animated. Like I said before, he was the heart of the Ghetto Boys and shit. Like very dope fucking rapper and shit. Rest in peace to him. With that being said, let's get started with this review. And the album I'm about to review today is the Ohio Players with their fifth studio album, Skin Tight, released in 1974 on Mercury Records. This was like their first. This was basically their first album, Mercury Records and shit. Yes, the Ohio Players. Finally, going to talk about this group. Um, I decided to take a little break from talking about Rick James. I'm gonna go back to talking about Glow sometime in the future because I gotta re-listen to those last three albums, which is gonna be a struggle on its own. But with that being said, the Ohio Players, one of the greatest funk groups of all time, very influential when it came to the Dayton, Ohio scene, which Dayton, Ohio had like a lot of funk groups, I believe, like Lakeside, Slave, Zapp and Roger. But like these cats, they were like really the first ones to really put it on the map and shit. And so when it came to this personnel, the members include Marshall Rock Jones on Fender bass, James Diamond Williams on drums, chimes, percussion lead, and background vocals and stuff. Billy Beck on piano and basically Sugarfoot on guitar, percussion lead, and background vocals. Ralph Pee Wee Middlebrooks on trumpet, trombone, and background vocals. Clarence Satchel on baritone sax, tenor sax, flute, percussion, lead, and background vocals. And Marvin Murphy in trumpet, flugelhorn, valve, trombone, and background vocals. Okay. So, for those who don't know who the Ohio Players are, they are a funk group. Excuse me. They are a funk group that originally formed in 1959 as the Ohio Untouchables. And so it had members like, Robert Ward, Rock Jones, Satch. And so they were originally like a backing group for this other group called the Falcons and stuff. So Robert Ward, from what I've looked up, he basically was not like the best leader. He would miss out on gigs. He would walk off stage. He wasn't professional at all. And fast forward to some in the mid '60s, they had like him and Rock Jones got into like a little fist fight, and that resulted in the group breaking up and stuff. So they replaced Robert Ward with Sugarfoot, and Sugarfoot definitely very, very, very dope front man and shit like that. Um, man, Sugarfoot, that's my nigga right there, basically. Yeah, very dope front man, and he had a very charismatic style of singing, very like jazz influence, which I'll talk more about that in a minute. And so they added a couple more members like Gregory Webster on drums and stuff. And so by '65, they had to rename themselves the Ohio Players because they saw themselves as ladies' men, basically. Now, remember what I said, ladies' men. Remember that statement. And with that aspect of the group, they had a couple new vocalists and they signed to Capitol Records and dropped their first album, Observations in Time, in 1969. Now, I've heard Observation Time years ago, and from what I've heard, I pretty much liked it. It's not what you would expect from the traditional Ohio player sound that you would be used to. They were going for that more psychedelic R&B vibe and shit like that. So while that album did not go anywhere, the group had then disbanded in 1970, and they had regrouped with a new lineup like Bonner, Satchel, Middlebrooks, Jones, and so on and so on. Okay, and they also added keyboardist Walter June Morrison, another key member. Excuse me, another key member in the group. So fast forward to 1971, they had signed to Westbourne. They had signed to Westbound, the label Westbound, which that was a very another influential funk label where it had funkadelic funkadelic albums and shit like that. And I believe Maggot Brain was released on that label. I believe so. So with that being said, they dropped the pain. They dropped the pain and album, and then they dropped the Pleasure album, both in 1972. Both albums were very reasonable successes. Mhm. Both as reasonable successes and shit like that. What was interesting about the Ohio players that made them stand out among the contemporaries was the fact that their album covers were very, very, very risque at the time, because you had like these girls dressed up in like dominatrix, and they would have shit showing their skin and whatnot. Like, as you can see right fucking here, as you can see. But there's an interesting story that I have to talk about when it comes to one of the album covers, which stay tuned more on that later on. And so it was really around this time too where um they had basically were very known for being consistent and stuff like that. So fast forward to 1973, they dropped the Ecstasy album, which I've heard the Ecstasy joint, very dope album. That's probably my favorite of the Westbound album and stuff like that. All of my Jay-Z fans should know about that album, but I'm gonna save that for a different day. So while that contract was while that contract was up at Westbound, they had, came they signed with Mercury Records and stuff like that in 1974, and so they had a new lineup now. And oh my fuck, really? Okay, where you had members like Billy Beck coming in the group and shit like that, and then you had Jimmy Diamond Williams coming in the group too. So yeah, so you know what? Yeah, fuck it. Yeah. So now this was basically the first album that was on Mercury Records. So yeah, very very dope album cover. It just has the fucking chick with the like smooth ass legs and stuff. I mean, come on, man, come on. And so with this album, when they signed to the new label, they had like a very new sound. Like they were gonna leave like the rugged funkiness of their Westbound albums, and they were going to like a more jazzy and more soulful kind of vibe and stuff. And so with this right here, this talks about all of the I think upcoming releases that's coming on Mercury Records, I believe. Oh my. Oh, okay. All right. So you got the members right here. You got Jones from the bass right there. You got Diamond on the drums right there. That's what Billy looked like. You got Sugarfoot just chilling. Pee Wee, Satch, and Merv right there. Yeah, Ohio players. My. Okay, so all right. So with this album, it has about 6 songs. Not too long, not too short, but let's get this over with. Track number one, we got a Skin Tight. Very, very, very dope song. Um, very funky, very funky. Like this is really one of the first songs I've really heard from them. And when you talking about the Ohio players, one thing I really forgot to mention was a lot of their songs they like to improvise when they just come in the studio, like just go off the dome basically. So I've always thought that was very interesting about the group, and it just kind of reminds me of like jazz. Very reminds me reminiscent of jazz when it comes to like the scatting and whatnot. So and the way they did it was just very funky and shit. So Skin Tight, like I love that part when like the horns like da 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 da. Like that song was just so funky as hell. Like very dope song. Track number two is Streaking Cheek to Cheek. Again, another dope it's like an instrumental song, but it's still very funky. Um I don't know if I would have definitely I don't know if I would have put that as like an instrumental like that far ahead, but at the same time it's still a good song and shit. Then we get to It's Your Night, Words of Love, which I have to admit that song right there, it's good, but I felt like it kind of dragged on a bit too. It was just a bit too slow for my taste. And moving on from that, the album quickly rebounded with Jive Turkey. Yeah, Jive Turkey. They had a song called Jive Turkey. Very dope, very cool song, very dirty as fuck too. Um, like when somebody is called like a Jive Turkey, it's just like calling somebody an ass basically. Like you can't like lie like they're just a dumb or some shit like that, you know. So yeah, very cool song. Again, it's a very funky track. Um, I like the line when he said, "Let me tell you, baby, you're a jive turkey. Give me it straight, jive turkey. Yeah, baby, jive turkey. Wow, 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 wow," and stuff like that. So next song we got is "Heaven Must Be Like This." My favorite song off this album and shit. Um, it's kind of funny too because like this, you can really see the whole jazz when it comes to this album and stuff. Very jazzy. Do I admit that it goes on a bit too long? Yes, but I do feel like this song is structurally a little bit better than "It's Your Night." Um, yeah, Sugarfoot vocally was very. He did his thing vocally on this song. Also, D'Angelo, he actually covered this song on the Live at the Savoy album. Very dope live album, by the way. I need to get my hands on that, to be real. So yeah. And the last track is Anybody Gonna Be Saved, which that's like a more gospel groove and stuff like that. Nice way to end off the album. And that's all the time I have for this album. Overall, very, very dope album. I would call this album a classic album in my opinion. Like, yes, they've made better albums than this in the future, but this was a nice way to start off in the Mercury of things and shit. Um, yeah, yeah, very good album and shit. Very funky. Like you when it comes to the Ohio players, man, you just gotta respect them. Like, have a very clean yet funky sound towards them. Yeah. I think this album, when it comes to this album, is very hard to come by. Let me see when the last reissue was and shit. But while I'm doing that, they actually dropped like this was really like one of the most busiest years as well because with that being said, they dropped the Fire album that same year too. Then they dropped the Climax album too, which I'm going to talk more about those in the future. Alright, so Skin Tight. Okay, last reissue. Yeah, they recently reissued this album in 2016 and stuff like that. A limited edition reissue. So if y'all can find it, must have in your collection. So that's all the time I have. Stay tuned for more. Peace.